You want your dialogue to be interesting. You don't want to face the sleepy talky dilemma where as soon as your characters open their mouth, your audience starts a snooze fest. Well, I'll show you how to fix your dialogue in this video. We're going to analyze one of my favorite movies called Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, which came out in 2003 from DreamWorks Studio. Go watch it. This movie has some of the best dialogue for keeping your audience engaged. Considering it's aimed for kids, the filmmakers had to think outside the box by creating snappy and interesting dialogue choices in order to keep the young viewers watching and understand the plot. A lot to think about, so let's break it down right after you subscribe to the channel. Get the point moving swiftly as not to bore your audience. Notice how we're summarizing the next conflict here.
And what could be more perfect than this? A noble prince, a priceless treasure, and a black-hearted thief. Oh, this is going to be fun. Cetus, you know what to do. Let the games begin.
This is a good example of getting a motive, thought, and clear understanding across in literally one line.
Gentlemen, this is what we've been waiting for. The world's most valuable object is on its way to Syracuse. It's a shame it'll never get there. After today, we retire to Fiji.
This upcoming scene showcases so much information, including character development, character relationship between Sinbad and Proteus, information about the Book of Peace, and this is our theme stated scene, which according to Blake Snyder is where the story tells the audience the theme of the entire story and the challenge that our hero needs to overcome. I know that's a lot, so let's break it down. First, in this scene, we skip what would have been a very long exposition about what the Book of Peace is, but instead the writers literally skip to the part where our hero already has a full understanding of it.
Sinbad, we need to talk.
Heard about it, read about it, never actually seen it.
Second, now we get into some juicy information about their relationship through this moment.
It's my job to bring it safely to Syracuse.
Really? Now see, now I just feel bad because you're gonna get fired.
Now we know what Proteus's goal is, what Sinbad's goal is, and why these are conflicting goals. Not only that, but notice the wording here. Proteus talks about his job is to deliver the book, and instead of Sinbad simply saying, I'm going to steal it and prevent the book from reaching Syracuse, he uses the phrase,
you're gonna get fired.
Implying that Proteus is about to fail his mission as Sinbad plans to steal it. I know it's not exactly the type of wording you'd think would be used in a period fantasy, but in order to keep your viewers' attention, you need to think outside the box when coming up with interesting dialogue. Thirdly, this next line tells us more information about their relationship.
You disappear for 10 years, show up and rob me?
Clearly, these two have a history together, and based on the tone, it makes it sound like they were friends at one point, which we'll discover in literally 10 seconds that they were actually friends at one point. We're now going to go into some deep relationship and character development.
I wish it wasn't you. I do, really.
But it is me, Sinbad.
This exchange shows us that Proteus is basically trying to play the friendship card and Sinbad is trying to talk his way out of it. Again, the question in this movie is whether Sinbad can remain a thief or become a hero. Will Sinbad honor his friendship or not? Very deep stuff. Fifthly, remember that too much dialogue can be boring. Check out what important information gets across here.
The Book of Peace protects all of us in the 12 cities.
Do we need to know how the book works? Nope. Do we need to know any information about these 12 kingdoms? No, we do not. Proteus' goal is to deliver the book. Why? Because that's his job. What's so important about the book? It protects the 12 kingdoms. Simple, to the point. Sixthly, we get more information on Sinbad's goal and establish how much of a thief he is. Remember this as it will be important for later.
So just imagine how much all of us will pay to get it back.
We're setting the bar for how far in Sinbad's flaws we're going into. Phew, that was a lot for just one scene. This next part is a great example of when it is appropriate for quippy lines and how to use it. See, I know a lot of people complain how Marvel uses too much quipping, but it's not a bad trick to use and can be included in your dialogue to great effect. Listen to this moment.
Stand by for sushi.
It's not only a funny line, but it shows how much confidence Sinbad has in his plan, and it tells us what's supposed to happen next. What you don't want to do is include random quippy lines for the sake of and when it's not necessary, like during a serious moment. When you think about this scene, it's actually kind of scary for kids. There's an ugly monster that's eating the crew. So the filmmakers wanted to have some funny moments to lighten the scene so it didn't feel terrifying. Here's another great moment for a one-liner.
Give that guy a raise.
Clearly, the dude's just fine. He's got the warrior spirit. Again, when used properly, quippy lines can enhance the moment instead of taking away from it. Finally, here's one more.
Where are you going?
Fishing.
Get it? Sea monster? fishing? Okay, I'm not going to show you this entire scene. Basically, Sinbad meets Eris. Eris tells Sinbad to steal the book for her, and she tells Sinbad,
Steal the book for ransom, and you'll be rich enough to lounge on an island beach. Steal the book for me, and you can buy the beach, and the island, and the world.
and in case for your 8-year-old mind that was too much information for you to process, Sinbad brilliantly summarizes it in the next line.
You let me live, you make me rich. I retire to paradise. So far, I don't see a downside, if you keep your word.
And if that went over your squirrel head, then check out how Sinbad brilliantly summarizes his next mission.
So I meet Eris, the goddess of chaos. She's got a major crush on me, and she invited me back to her place.
It's good to quickly summarize the next upcoming plot points so that we, as the audience, understand what's about to happen in the movie. Now, you may have noticed that technically, Sinbad refers to Eris as the goddess of chaos, which isn't correct, as Eris called herself, according to Greek mythology.
Eris, the goddess of discord.
But because it's a solid movie, I'll forgive them for that blunder, but try to be consistent with your own writing. After Sinbad revisits Syracuse and decides to leave without the Book of Peace, Eris frames Sinbad by stealing the book herself. In this scene, Sinbad is now in jail and is confronted by Proteus. Lots to unpack in this scene. First, we start off with some quippy lines from Sinbad showing how furious Proteus is and how annoyed Sinbad is.
Do you realize how serious this is?
Do you realize how many times I've heard that today?
Second, Sinbad could have easily said, look, I didn't steal the book, but that would be too simple, so the writers jazz up the line by giving us this version.
Proteus, here's the way this works. First, I actually commit a crime, and then you get to blame me for it.
Thirdly, we have this powerful exchange where now Sinbad tries to play the friendship card like we saw earlier.
You were there. You know the truth. You know me.
Do I? And you a kid?
And this time, Proteus is reiterating the same point Sinbad said before, where he claimed the two grew out of their friendship, but now that friendship plays an important part in this conflict. Small note,
I will not be responsible for your life.
You would do the same for me.
No, I wouldn't.
which repeats the main theme of whether Sinbad is a thief who will not honor his friendship to Proteus, or a hero and he will respect his friendship. Again, we're reminding the audience of the theme. Pause. We're now in Act 2. Keep note of this because all of this important plot and character related dialogue was super important so that we, as the audience, have a clear understanding of the characters and what's happening within the first 20% of the movie. Okay, on with the show. Now, Sinbad is having to choose to go after the book to save Proteus or ignore the friendship and retire. Meanwhile, Marina sneaks on board to try and persuade him. Check out the clever wording used here.
But I have other ways of convincing you.
Really? Just how do you expect to do that?
By speaking your language.
Keep talking.
Did you notice it? The wording of speaking and language and keep talking. This is a good example of using similar wording to form an idea as well as using subtext. Okay, let's review the dialogue tips we learned. 1. Cut straight to the point. Don't bore your audience with more words than necessary. Think of unique ways to get the important information across with creative descriptions and even funny word choices. 2. Once in a while, it's good to summarize the plot points, especially when a lot is about to take place or when a lot just happened. This helps the audience to have clarity. 3. Quippy dialogue is used to enlighten a scene with some humor. Be careful not to use this during a serious scene, but more when you want to sprinkle some funny moments in to lighten up a scene. 4. Pull your audience into the story more by reminding them of the bigger picture, the theme, and the plot. Find different ways to remind your viewers as to not repeat the same do-good speech again and again. 5. Come up with word choices that have similar meaning to add color to the dialogue and make sure it's more digestible and interesting. For example, my job, and you're going to get fired, or speaking your language and keep talking. 6. Make sure your dialogue has consistent information. If one character said X information, don't change that later on unless the information does change. Okay, thanks for watching. Leave your favorite tips for snappy dialogue in the comment section. Good luck with your movies, and I will see you next time.